On the cover, our heroes appear to be cooking in a very fancy kitchen. The Baroness is carrying a large, heavy pot from which a mechanical tentacle is trying to escape. William is slicing an elaborate beef Wellington with latticework pastry pentagrams on top. Piero is hunkered down and peering into an oven, in the reflection of which we can see their mask superimposed over their face. And Darren is tossing a pan full of leaves, grass, and moss over an open flame. Her normally pink cilia are tinted platinum blonde, and she is wearing a t-shirt emblazoned with Guy Fieri's face. The caption at the bottom reads, "A quiet evening, or the beginning of the end." Issue 3, Off the Clock. Issue 3 starts really right where Issue 2 left off. We have the group standing on top of this abandoned mall with the frozen kind of, at this point, almost technological statue of Dr. Bahat. And I want to just really quickly kind of go around and what are these characters doing? We'll start with Darren. What is Darren at this point just kind of doing? What is her look?
At this point, the building is the one we were in is brought down.
Yep.
I think I'm still looking at the rubble looking for the Baroness because I brought down a building on her and I haven't seen her emerge just yet. Is that the case?
Sure. She did kind of come up at the end of the last issue, but at this point we can assume that Darren hasn't seen that yet. So let's move over at that point to the Baroness then. What is the Baroness in this first panel looking like?
I would probably be looking at Dr. Bahat, if not trying to get down to the street where the Kopi people were.
Okay, so we'll just start with looking at Dr. Bahat, that's fine. And then Piero, so what are you up to?
I believe I'm still holding the villain in the net, yes?
Yes. So you are holding Overclock at this point in a net.
Yes.
And we never said his name. So you're still holding Overclock in this giant net as the Kopi agents kind of enclose around. And William, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm definitely heading down to the ground to get a better look at this Overclock guy.
Are you going back through the building, or are you just jumping off the roof?
I'm gonna jump.
Full on, like, demon kind of landing?
Oh no, I'm not summoning it around me. I just kind of float down Mary Poppins style with one demon, like, holding me by the arm.
Okay.
In your beautiful suit.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll pick up there. As you come down to the ground, you notice that there are about 6 agents around. The one that stands out kind of immediately to you is a very tall, very built, like almost bodybuilder looking kind of lady. She's got a braid down to her shoulders, which she's got kind of tucked back at this point. And she is talking into a radio. Okay, well, we need a immediate pickup, and she looks over at William. Did you say not to touch this guy?
Yeah, that'd be a really bad idea. Some kind of mind control thing? I don't even know.
Oh, we are gonna need full containment on this one. Thank you very much for that, by the way. You guys did an excellent job. And she looks up at the building. Are the rest of your friends still up there?
Probably. Somewhere.
Great. My name is Olivia Larange. I work for Kopi. I'm a psychologist. I need to talk to you guys.
Psychologist, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll see if we can gather them up and stick around for you.
Standard protocol with underage super people like yourselves. Just a quick debriefing. Shouldn't take very long.
Fine.
Is William going to go back up, or is he, what's the plan?
I can head back up there and see where the other guys are at, since they're keeping me away from Overclock.
So, right quick at this point, so for Darren, Piero, and the Baroness who are still on the roof, I know the Baroness was looking at Dr. Bahat. Are you doing anything in particular right there?
I'm flicking tiny rocks at him to see what happens.
Okay, that seems like you might be assessing a situation.
That could be what I'm doing. You could describe it.
You're trying to figure something out. Sure, go for it.
Nate.
Go ahead and check out that list and give me what you want to know.
What here is the biggest threat?
Probably the building collapsing. It's pretty structurally unsound at this point. As you're kind of flicking rubble, you notice that there's a lot of, like, almost rock sliding happening.
I see.
You guys did a number on this corner of the building.
Yes. What do we want to do about this guy? I don't want to touch him, in case it's, like, contagious.
I could possibly change his density so that he's a bit lighter and easier to be. We can just use a puff of air and blow him in the direction we want him to go.
I like that.
Foolproof plan!
We've seen you do this a couple of times.
I'm a one-trick pony.
I am absolutely fine with you doing that in this case. Where are you trying to move him?
If there are 6 agents around, is there any vehicles or containment units that we can?
Yeah, like you can actually you can hear a helicopter incoming. It's pretty close.
Oh, maybe that's not a good idea because the helicopter's force might blow him away.
I was going to say, can we wait till overclock is out of the net and then have Piero move him down?
I think that we should find someone who is willing to receive this villain before we decide to just move him or release him from what he's in.
Maybe a hospital is the best way to proceed.
Can we get the Kopi people up to us so they can figure out what to do?
So,
like I said, the building's collapsing.
So as you are kind of discussing this, what to do with Bahat and like how best to move him without potentially touching him, the Cloctopus attacked the university, which was literally right next door. This helicopter is here. So at this point, you see what a full containment actually means. There are 3 people in hazmat suits, and they have basically a giant sectional kind of glass case that they construct around Overclock.
Oh.
They slide a bottom into it, and then one of them attaches a handle to it, and it just flips sideways and hovers off the ground about 4 inches.
Kind of looks like something they picked up me with.
Might be.
Is he, like, frozen, or does he just, like, fall on his side?
Oh, he just falls over. They're not really concerned with his well-being
that's a rough
at this
ride.
point. Yeah.
So, once he is contained, can Piero sort of magic Dr. Bond down?
I think at this point also is when William is getting back up to the roof.
I see.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to try, you can.
Sure. I guess let's use the old handy lasso and, whip my hand around, throw it around the doctor, and kind of tighten it.
Yeah, again, that's fine. He's not putting up any kind of resistance. This is not, really flexing your muscles at this point. Mm-hmm. Especially since the people up here have seen you do this, so they fully believe that this will work. So, yeah. Are you just going to lower him down to the ground, or what is your...
Yeah, let's just lower him.
You lower him down, and as you do, you see this pretty large, muscular lady kind of wave up at you. She gives a big, cheerful smile. She goes, "Oh, thanks for the assist. That's really, very... It would have been a hard lane in a helicopter up there. Does he need full containment, too?"
I nod.
Yes, put him in the glass tube.
Okay. And they put him in the glass case. Was he involved, or is this a bystander?
Victim?
Both?
Okay. Why don't you kids come on down? We'll get you out of there.
So can I grab a hold of the Baroness and we shift our density and I take her down with me so that she does not
getting
get hurt? I'm being very overprotective because I got very frightened that you might be lost.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, getting off the roof is not a hard thing for any of you. We do see in a few panels after this, basically these Kopi agents under the direction of Agent Larange kind of shuffle you guys into vehicles, and we see those vehicles head off towards the center of town.
Are we each in a separate vehicle?
Let's say there's 2 of them, so who's riding with who?
I assume Darren and I are riding together.
So I guess it's me and William.
So, Piero and
mine.
in the back of the car.
Good conversations.
Good conversation.
Yeah. With Celentine and the speechless mind.
Some low-hanging fruit.
So our next scene kind of enters on an office. You guys have been taken to Kopi HQ, which is a big triangular building very near the center of town. It almost looks like a pyramid. Inside, it's very comfortable, surprisingly. It's almost like just a really upscale office building. And where you are taken is a big conference room. So the 4 of you are in here together, and after a few minutes, Larange kind of enters, and she's got a tray with cookies, there's a big jug of water and some glasses. It's basically just things to kind of keep your blood sugar up. And she has a seat, and kind of, in turn, looks over and pulls a file off the tray that had the water jug on it, and flips through. Says, "Okay, sorry to keep you kids waiting. I know it's been a few minutes, but we had to take care of that situation first. That fella you guys captured calls himself Overclock, and he is just a conundrum." And she puts the folder on the table. "I don't suppose any of you guys have any information on this character?"
I've never seen anything like this one.
Okay, well that's kind of a secondary concern. Don't worry yourself too much about that. Mostly what I'm here for is to make sure that you guys are okay. You've just been through a very traumatic series of events, and I would like to make sure that you're all feeling okay mentally. And she looks over at Darren. We have a little bit of intel from the ground that you actually used your powers on a civilian?
It was only to remove him from harm. I know I have been instructed to avoid those confrontations, but it seemed like the best course of action, and he handled it very well. He should be very proud.
Well, I guess let's move on then to the doctor. First off, Dr. Bahat is alive. He is in critical condition. We think he's in some kind of coma, but we're not really sure what's going on there. His brain activity is all over the charts. And at this point, she kind of looks over at the Baroness. I know that he kind of touched you a little bit, and I understand that's sort of a similar thing that happened with Dr. Bahat. Are you feeling okay?
I'm better.
I go better.
Well, if you need to say anything, we can always private session as well. I just want to let you kids know. This is just a group debrief to make sure that there's no lasting effects. But if you guys need to talk to anybody, my name is Olivia Larange. I'm a psychologist here with Kopi, and my door is always open for you. I just want to let you know that. And she looks over at William. How are you feeling, buddy?
My name is William, not Buddy, and I'm fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just a very friendly person.
Well, we're not quite buddies yet. I'm just saying.
I'd like to be your buddy.
That's fine. You just don't need to rush into these things. That's all I'm saying.
That's fine, William. I won't try and press you, but we don't really have you in our database, and we were just wondering if we could. You're not under no obligation to answer any questions, but we did notice you had some, demons kind of working for you. And we just want to make sure that's not going to be a problem because we've seen that sort of thing before, and it tends to... Oh, yeah.
That specific thing, or...
Very similar, yes.
Similar. Interesting. Okay.
Well, I tell you what, if you want to have a chat with me about that, as long as you're willing to answer some questions, a little exchange wouldn't go awry.
Why don't you set up an appointment with my family secretary, and maybe we can talk those things through.
And she pulls out a little notebook, and she has you, if you would write that down for me.
Oh, of course, no problem.
Right. And then she looks over at Piero. How you doing, honey?
Thumbs up.
Can you talk?
I shake my head.
Okay, but you can hear me okay.
And I nod my head.
Okay. So we'll just try and stick to yes or no questions here for the time being. We have talked to... This is kind of awkward. I'm sorry with your friends here, but are you Mew Morris?
Oh no! Oh my god! I guess my character nods their head.
Okay, and she nods. Your parents are very worried about you. Usually when we're debriefing people from an incident like this, where a giant 20-foot octopus smashes a college campus, people are worried about their livelihood or their safety, but we talked to your dad and you were really all he would communicate to us about. So, and I'm not here to give you any kind of direction. I'm not here to force you in any particular manner. But, your dad's very worried about you. I'm sorry, that wasn't a yes or no question, was it? I just wanted you to know that. He wants to make sure you're safe. Are you safe?
I nod my head.
Are you gonna contact him, or...
I shake my head.
Okay. I won't pry too much. And she kind of sits back. Well, kids, thank you for sitting down and debriefing with me here. Is there anything that you guys need any help with?
Where's Officer Darren?
He's actually still at the college campus at the moment. We're still kind of cleaning up after the Cloctopus attack.
Can we help with cleanup? I know we made messes.
You kids have been through a lot today. I don't want to put more on you. Obviously, we can't stop you, but I think what will be best for you guys is to kind of go home, decompress, and we can kind of revisit this if you want in the morning even. And she passes out a couple of cards. Again, always, feel free to contact me if you need anything. I am definitely on your side. And at that point, she stands up. I'm going to leave you guys to discuss with yourselves for a little bit. Feel free to help yourself. We've got gluten-free as well if any of you have an allergy. And if you need anything, I'll just be right across the hall in my office, okay? I trust you guys know the way out. If you just want to... You don't have to talk to anybody if you want to go home. I understand that, okay? And she gets up and she walks out and closes the door.
So, same time tomorrow?
Where? I'm in.
Okay, so, yeah, at that point, everyone is kind of going their separate ways. Is everyone just leaving, or are any of you going to take Larange up on her offer to talk, or are you just kind of splitting at this point?
I would like to mime obscene gestures at the closed door to make fun of the psychologist who just left.
Sure.
I would like to laugh at that.
Thank you.
Sure. So at that point then, yes, we can just assume that everyone is kind of splitting up. We're going to start that then with William. So how are you getting home? Are you going to call somebody, or are you just going to, take public transport, God forbid?
I mean, we'll do probably do an Uber.
Okay. Yeah, alright. So you call an Uber.
Obviously, the higher class Ubers.
Sure. Luxury.
Pay for that
luxury
extra.
all the way. That is perfectly fine. So you're kind of in the city center, which is a very upscale sort of neighborhood, so you probably don't have very far to go to get home. So let's talk about the Infernus estate. Is this a big sprawling, grounds, or is this a high-rise kind of thing?
This is at the top of the Infernus Corporation building. Top, let's say 4 floors are entirely dedicated to our family living space.
Fantastic.
One of those floors is entirely clear except for a replica of a circus stop. The rest of it is high-end luxury penthouse type accommodations.
So when you get home, as you kind of walk in the front door, you have your mother and your father and Eric. And they're all sitting in kind of the family gathering sort of room just off of the foyer. So first off, let's talk about your mom and dad. What do they look like?
They look the dad at least looks very much like both me and Eric. Very clean cut, very nice suit, dark hair, just an absolute Bruce Wayne type figure.
Okay.
But maybe some salt and pepper since his sons are all in there.
Older gentleman.
Sure.
And very much white, aristocratic, high-end business type stuff.
And then, how about your mom?
Same thing. Not suits, mind you, but...
Okay.
Are you saying women can't wear suits?
Yep.
Just that I'm trying to make this as cliche as possible.
I think that a lady suit would be appropriate.
No, I'm going with more of a fancy high-end designer dresses, that sort of thing.
So, senator's wife kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So as you come in, your father, who is at this point, just again to be as cliche as we possibly can be, he's got a small glass of scotch with
Obviously.
a giant ice cube in it. And he kind of swishes that around a little bit. Eventful day you had, William.
Yeah? What'd you hear about it?
He looks over at Eric. Well, I'd rather hear from you. And he takes a sip of the scotch.
Well, I accompanied my brother over to the university to do something I was super not sure on what I was doing.
Hold on right there. And he looks over at Eric. Eric, did you tell your brother the nature of your outing? And Eric says, I had assumed that he would follow my lead. And your father kind of nods and looks back at you. Continue.
And, due to other circumstances that were highly unexpected, things did not go as anticipated, and due to Eric disappearing, I'm not quite sure where he went to, I was unsure of the direction I was supposed to be taking.
And Eric kind of scowls a little bit when you said that he disappeared and you don't know where he went. And your father takes another kind of a slow sip and he puts the glass back on the table and he looks at you. I'm very disappointed in both of you. Go to your rooms. I will have dinner brought round presently. And Eric's just sort of looks, he gives you a look that he is going to murder you in your bed tonight.
I'm used to it.
Right? Yeah. It's your normal We're Brothers look. And he heads off to his room, and I'm assuming you do the same, or...
I sigh first, but yes.
Okay, alright. So very quickly, what does William's room look like? So when we enter on this page and he turns on the lights, what kind of room is this?
I'm going to go with his room is pretty much bare of decoration. Just very Spartan.
Okay.
I don't think he really is quite sure of what he likes and dislikes at this point, and his parents most likely are not going to let him have, I don't even know what we're going to say, punk rock apparel around, even though that's what he likes to listen to. So it's pretty much lacking in decoration entirely. Besides the bare living necessities, it's pretty much empty.
Okay.
Of personality, at least.
And so that's where we'll kind of pause on William, because I think that's a good shot of William coming into this like decadent kind of living quarters and being sent to his empty room. Let's move on to the Baroness.
Okay.
So you're at Kobe HQ, which is kind of where you live. So your actual room is not very far away.
Right.
So are you doing anything else before you head off to just relax for the evening, or what is your plan?
I feel like the first place I would probably go is back to my room.
So you head back to your room first. We'll get those couple of panels there where the Baroness enters her room. So what does your room look like?
I feel like the headquarters and the Kopi orphanage are all fairly cookie cutter. There's not a lot of stuff to hang, going on. I feel like mine was supposed to be like a room for multiple people, and they've just taken all the furniture out so that it'll fit.
Sure. Do you have a bear-sized bed?
I was kind of thinking that I just had like 3 or 4 mattresses just sort of thrown in the corner in a pile somewhere.
Okay.
Ripped up a little bit.
Yeah, they're a little ripped up,
I like that.
And then there's a weird sort of desk on one side. Like, the desk looks pretty normal, but there's sort of a chair there. I'm not sure exactly what kind of chair. Maybe it's like a beanbag or something.
Oh, I like that. It's a giant beanbag in front of it. Yeah.
It's got duct tape all over it because I keep accidentally ripping it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help it. You've got bear claws. Do you have anything on the walls? Do you have, posters, or...
I'm kind of thinking that there are, required Kobe posters, Kobe propaganda posters around.
They wouldn't be required, but they do exist.
Well, right.
So if you want to have those in there, you can.
Things like that. There's probably a poster from by my old Kobe Youth Justice League team or whatever they were called. The one promotional poster that we got while I was on that team is probably there. It has a little mustache drawn on Static Jock and things of that nature, but that's probably about it. Oh, there's a little tiny tree.
Okay.
By the window that I try to care for.
Do you have a little bonsai tree?
I'm just thinking a little bonsai tree.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, a little tiny bonsai tree.
So I think at this point you kind of have come in and maybe you're fiddling with the little bonsai tree a little bit, and there's a very almost hesitant sort of knock at your door.
Uh-huh.
And it just kind of opens, and Static Jock actually pokes his head in and he goes, Is this a bad time?
What do you want, Jock?
I just wanted to say that you were really cool fighting that Cloctopus, and I'm sorry I wasn't more help.
Thanks, Jock.
So from there, we are going to move on right quick to Darren. Mm-hmm. So Darren lives with Officer Darren.
I live with Officer Darren.
Where does Officer Darren live?
Officer Darren lives in a suburb.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he has his own house.
Mm-hmm. He has his own house.
Tell me about Officer Darren's family.
Officer Darren is divorced, but he's remarried, and his wife is lovely. Her name is Meredith, and she has 2 sons from a previous marriage, and they're both much younger. I think they're both about 8 years old, 8 to 6 years old. And so they're young enough to think I'm really, really cool, but their mom Meredith is still not quite sure of why there's a living mushroom woman in her home, but she knows that I'm cared about and that I care about her family and am learning. So she has a lot of patience with me. She's just a little hesitant, and her sons think I am a cool pet kind of thing.
Okay. They just think you're their cool monster roommate. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. But I live in the basement.
Okay. So when Darren gets home, Officer Darren has not yet come back from the university.
Okay.
So it is definitely Meredith who meets you at the door. First off, how does Darren get back? Does she take public transit? Does she
I think Kopi would have at this point a shuttle for me. I am not aware of this is something that my character does not know. My basement area is actually a containment unit that has been modified. That's the only reason why I'm even allowed outside of Kopi in the first place, is because before, when I was being kept separate because I really attached strongly to Darren, I was getting pale and splotchy and showing signs of rot until they were able to provide me with a more better social environment. So they modified the basement of Officer Darren's house, and I live in the basement, which is actually a containment unit, and I do not know this.
So you get home, and Meredith meets you kind of at the front door, and she tells you that dinner will be ready soon, so why don't you go ahead and, wash up, and could you bring the boys in from the backyard as well?
Yeah, I can bring in boys, yes.
Thank you. And she goes back over to the kitchen. And I just want to ask right quick, what is she cooking?
She's making a meal for her own family, but I actually don't eat a lot of meat substances. I think she just right now has a patch of moss that she just goes and pulls out and lays it out for me, makes it as nice as she can make it. She does know I respond pretty badly to salt. Like isolated sodium, I don't handle super, super well. But she presents it beautifully. I know she's putting in a lot of effort to make me feel at home.
Okay, so for family dinners, everyone kind of has their own meal, and then you have a plate of basically moss.
Yes.
That's exactly a fun image. So you get home, and Meredith has asked you to come kind of get, the boys in and get everybody washed up.
Yes. And so I yell, "Young ones, come inside! We are eating!"
And you hear back, "Can we have a couple of minutes?"
"Your mother's commanded you to come inside to eat food."
Okay. So the boys kind of run in, and they are just caked in mud. And they immediately run up, and I think they hug you. I think they're very happy to see you.
Yes, I think so too.
And so they kind of run off to their kid bathroom, which is just horrendous at all times, and the adults have a separate one. Does Darren have any kind of space like that, or does she use either the kids or the adults, or how does she get kind of washed up in the evenings?
I actually enjoy the presence of dirt on my body.
Like a chinchilla.
I enjoy the presence, makes me feel more comforting, but in the basement, I believe I will have my own station where I can rinse myself, but I do produce a lot of mucus when I have been exerting myself, so I feel like I would have my own septic sewage system to process that properly. And again, I'm in a very contained unit. Everything is its own air system, its own water system, so that I can be, just in case something happened to me, it doesn't spread to humans. So I'm very, very isolated and contained with my own system and environment.
So we get those panels where you get the boys in, they kind of run off to their own bathroom to get cleaned up, and then you kind of head down into this giant containment unit.
Yes, and I have a television in a corner where I watch and try to learn about American or just world cultural events, but I have seen in a lot of John Hughes movies that people that look about my age have a lot of posters on their walls, and I don't understand that these are music idols, so I take cookbook pages and I rip them out and I just smack them on the wall. So I think my walls are covered in cookbook recipes.
You got a big Julia Childs.
Yeah, I have a big Julia Childs. I have a Birth Beat Bourguignon. I just have anything that looks like this looks like right, and call it good.
Guy Fieri.
Yeah, Guy Fieri. Just Flavor Town right above my bed.
I think that's a good place to kind of pause that. I'm sorry, Christina, yes.
I was curious if this is all Kobe stuff, or if there's anything from, your home planet.
I came with very little from my planet, because it was a very fast evacuation. I did come in a pod or ship of some sort, but I haven't seen it since I crash landed, and I just assume it was lost to the bog, which I might be wrong about.
That's a good place to kind of pause that particular scene. Piro, so you leave Kopi HQ, or are you going to take Larange up on her?
No way.
Okay.
No way.
All right. You don't need any of that.
Nuh-uh.
Okay. So
you fist bump.
There was a fist bump. I just want to put that in the audio.
Oh.
All right. So Piro leaves the Kopi HQ, and as you're exiting this giant, splendid, almost pyramid in the heart of this really, fancy middle of town, where are you going?
The house I am currently squatting at.
Okay, where is this house?
It is at the edge of Apex City. in a quieter neighborhood that, like, most people have left.
So it's in kind of like a dying neighborhood towards the outskirts of the city itself.
Yes.
And what condition is this house in?
Oh, it's sad. It's, like, dilapidated. Like, there's no heat, there's no electricity, most of the windows are boarded up. 2 floors, and the stairs are, like, kind of broken and squeaky if they're intact.
So you enter this broken down, sad house.
Yes.
And what does Piero do?
I think they go up to the 2nd floor, and they go to a small window bed, like one of those beds that's right under the window, kind of cut out in the wall, with like real thin cushion, not real comfortable, with like one fresh sheet over it. And they just kind of sit there for a second, I guess, contemplate what happened in the day.
So we have this really almost like grayscale kind of series of panels where Piero is getting into this dark house, and it's kind of on the outskirts of town. I don't imagine that they have a whole lot of access to money or means of fast travel. Or
just walking.
Do you even have like a metro pass? Like,
I mean, like, if I really wanted to go fast, I could just mime something around a bunch of people. Like, I could just mime driving a car, and then I'm driving a car. Like,
that would very much give the game away, though. Like, pretty obvious.
Do you have to mime like a driver's license?
If I get pulled over, yeah.
So it's coming into the evening at this point, and your mask is itself your sanctuary. So as you're kind of sitting here meditating, and correct me if I'm kind of wrong, this is basically something that just kind of happens if you're alone in a quiet space.
Yes.
So your mask takes up a position, and it actually just kind of floats into the center of the room and turns around to face you.
Excellent.
Well, Piero, that went horribly.
I don't feel it went horribly at all.
Do you not?
No? Yes? Double negative?
and you can, it's got a very blank expression, but you can almost see the, like, consternation. Did you get what you were after, at least?
No, I didn't.
Oh. You know, I believe that your friends would have given you a place to stay. These are frankly unacceptable habitations. The one looks like he was quite well off.
I don't need his help.
Oh, I believe you do, Piero. Look at how you're getting along for yourself. There's no electricity. You've been surviving on canned goods. Frankly, it's starting to smell in here.
It's very rude. I don't appreciate that.
Well, you've been very rude to me, haven't you? I thought we were partners. I thought this was going to be, you and me, living the high life.
I didn't agree to any of this.
You absolutely did. You took me. You put me on. Look, Piero, I'm sorry, we got off on the wrong foot there just now. I only have your best interests in heart. I think your friends could help you. Maybe drag you out of this dank pit in which you find yourself.
Wow. Maybe you're right.
I'm just saying give it a chance, because your other option is to sit here alone in the dark. And frankly, that's good for me too, but not in a way that's healthy for you.
There's another option.
Oh?
I could talk to this Larange lady.
I don't like her.
Doesn't matter if you like her.
I suppose you're correct. And I think that that scene where you and your mask hovering in midair, just kind of staring at each other, I think that's a good place to end that particular scene.
Nice.
So from there we move back over to William. You've been in your room for a while, and there is kind of a tapping at your door, and you hear the voice outside. I'm assuming your family is well enough off to have servants.
Well, of course.
Sure.
Are they humans or demons?
I was actually going to ask, do you have human servants in the house?
Yes. For all appearances, we are a perfectly normal billionaire family.
Sure.
Just your average every day.
Do you have a favorite servant, or are they all just kind of beneath your nose?
I think that would be very much an Alfred-type character in this situation. His name is most likely Bartholomew.
So, Bartholomew sounds like might be an older gentleman.
Yes.
Okay. So, Bartholomew taps on your door. Mr. Infernus. Beef Wellington.
Oh, all I wanted was a burger.
Would you like me to get you one?
No, beef Wellington will have to do.
And so he opens the door and pushes a little cart in with a big silver tray with one of the fancy lids on it. Your father has requested your presence after dinner in his sitting room.
Does that mean I'm allowed to leave my room?
After dinner, yes.
Alright, fine. I will try and make an appearance if my digestion allows it.
I will inform Mr. Infernus of this. Thank you very much, William. Is there anything else?
That'll be all, Barty. Thank you.
Very good, sir. And he pulls the cart back out of the room, and you can tell he's starting to get on a bit in age. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously cooked to perfection. It's nothing but the best, even if you're a little bit grounded.
Of course.
Is William going to go see his father after dinner?
Yes,
Okay.
He is.
So your father's sitting room is not a place that you have been very often, because it's usually a place that he doesn't let other people in.
Okay.
You know that it's a pretty big, wood-lined room with a lot of different books, his pretty massive desk. It's very much like a businessman's drawing room. So you arrive, and the door is open a little bit, so that you know that it's okay to go on in. And your dad is sitting behind his desk, and just before you go in, you can see that he is writing what looks to be some sort of a letter. What do you do?
I knock on the door.
He looks up and kind of folds the letter and then turns it over so you couldn't see what's on it. Yes, William, come on in.
I head on in and flop down on whatever chair is closest to his desk.
Sure. There's probably a big leather armchair very close to it. So you flop on down on that. And your father takes this letter and slides it into a drawer in the desk and then closes that and then locks that.
And puts the key
On his desk.
Okay.
William, I've been speaking with Eric, and he tells me that you made several rude gestures and blatant displays of your abilities.
I dispute that. It was only one rude gesture, not several.
Eric is prone to exaggeration. I'm sorry that he didn't inform you of the nature of your visit. Son, you know about our family's arrangement, correct?
I'm aware of it, yes.
Let's just very quickly go back over that. We came from nothing, literally a circus family, dirty rabble, and over the last century, we have lifted ourselves to live literally above the common people of the city. You, William, while your brother did err in not giving you the information to perform your task adequately, are also at fault here. Do you know why we don't want people to know what we can do?
Because summoning demons isn't necessarily great for our public persona?
And he kind of waves a hand. There's at least one of these so-called capes that claims to be a god and regularly incinerates half of the city. No. It's because the more people know about this, the more people think that this is something they can do themselves. We want to keep our power to ourselves. Aside from which... And he kind of scratches the side of his face a little bit. These things do not come without a cost. And perhaps it's time we showed you what that means.
Alright, shoot.
This is more of a visual lesson. And he stands up, and he goes over to one of his bookshelves and pulls a book off. He's kind of careful to keep his body between you and whatever's going on over there. You know the general area, but you don't know what book. And the wall slides open. And you haven't seen this before. Come along, and he starts walking down what looks to be a fairly long hallway.
A long hallway?
Mm-hmm.
Does this room have views of the outside?
Oh, yes.
Does this hallway defy that?
A little bit.
Nice. That is awesome.
So he has kind of motioned for you to come along, and he's heading down that hallway.
Okay.
So as you walk down, there are pictures, large kind of oil paintings, that you pass every 5-10 feet. And the ones closest to the door you recognize. They're your parents. It's your mother on one side and your father on the other side. And then you recognize your grandparents past that. And then, like, dimly your great-grandparents past that. And eventually, you come to what is it's a room at the end of this hallway that is set up almost like a shrine.
Okay.
And there is one just massive portrait on the wall. And it's a guy that kind of vaguely bears your features. Maybe your dad's age or a little bit older. He's got those kind of like wingtips, and he's got this giant bushy mustache. And he's wearing a vest and a brightly colored bow tie. Your great-great-grandfather, Balthazar Infernus. I don't mean that figuratively, William. That's literally him on the wall there.
Wait, what?
That's his skin.
Yeah, that's a little dark.
Our family is dark, William, and you have to understand, that's the price that we pay. Every generation, every first, when we go, that's what happens to us. That is what fuels your ability. You are literally sucking the life out of me every time you summon one of those demons. Do you understand now why I don't want you doing that willy-nilly?
A little bit?
And he puts his hand on your shoulder. William, I understand that I should have told you this sooner, but I wanted to spare you, especially seeing as Eric is the next in line to inherit the full power. Once I'm gone, I frankly don't give a rat's ass what you do with it. Your brother is...
So, you're telling me that every time I summon a demon, once you're gone, I'll be killing my brother?
Yes, but for the moment you're killing me.
What a trade-off.
Look, I believe you're smarter than this. I believe you're better than this. You can accomplish great things with a very small amount of power, because your real strength lies in our family's cunning, not our brute force. And he is shifting your labels. He is trying to shift your superior up and your freak down. You're smarter, you're better, you don't have to be like this big demonic force. Do you accept that or do you reject it?
I'm going to accept that one.
Okay, so go ahead and shift your labels. And your father, for probably the first time in years, just kind of smiles at you. I'm glad that we had this talk, William. I would like our relationship to be slightly better. But you must understand, of my sons, don't tell your brother this, you are my favorite. That's why I'm grooming Eric to be the next in line.
Dang, that's cutthroat.
I'll leave you here to think on this. Knock 3 times when you're ready to leave. And he walks back down the hallway, and you can hear that wall of books just kind of slide back into place. And I think that's the panel where we leave William, is just kind of looking at this picture of Balthazar Infernus. So moving on, back to Darren.
Darren.
You have gotten yourself ready for dinner, and you're upstairs. And at this point, Officer Darren has kind of come home while you were downstairs getting ready. So you head back upstairs, and he's just kind of, he's in the kitchen just kind of talking with Meredith. And as you come up, he turns around and kind of waves at you. It was good work out there today.
Oh, thank you!
And this is probably going to be sort of a shorter thing, but everyone sits down to the dinner table. Just really quickly, what does that look like? Is it just kind of a very warm kind of like, or is everyone very quiet? Is this...
2 boys, I think it would be louder, a bit more chaotic, with all of us trying to rein in a 6-year-old and 8-year-old to some degree, but I do feel that Meredith has some concerns because she saw the news. Yeah. She's not an idiot. Yeah. And I think there's some concern of seeing the same person who was ripping down a building or turning people into goop is handling her children in her home. So I think there is some cautious restraint from her. But I think Officer Darren is a warm and hospitable and has viewed me like a daughter to some extent. So I think it would be a bit warmer, just some hesitation from Meredith.
Sure. So Officer Darren at this point, and you can like basically him, the boys, and you are all just kind of, whenever we get those panels, smiling, conversing, doing normal dinner things, and every so often you can see that Meredith looks like she's maybe a little bit troubled. It's a good sequence of panels there. After dinner, the whole family kind of retires in to watch a movie. I'm not going to make you decide what the movie is, but it's definitely something child appropriate.
Yes.
And at the end of the night, everyone kind of splits up, and that's a very normal kind of evening for you guys. Meanwhile, Piero is where we left off. They are sitting in this room with their mask kind of floating in the center, and you've just had this kind of tense moment where you're like, I can go talk to Larange, and the mask has told you that it doesn't like her, and you say it doesn't matter. You can tell that silence has been going on for some time. We've got a little timer up in the top left corner of these panels that's like 7 o'clock, 7:05, 7:15, 7:30, and there's just no dialogue.
Oh, wow.
How does this silence break eventually?
I guess I probably would pick up the card that Officer Larange gave to me, and being that I am a mime, I cannot call. So I guess I'm just gonna, get a coat and just walk on over.
Okay, so you're actually in kind of, at this point, like the middle of the night, maybe walking all the way back into town.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of those panels that we have there, is a lot of silence, and then Piero looking at this card and shrugging into their coat, and probably a whole page worth of panels of just walking silently into town until you're at the base of the Kobe HQ. So you're at the base of this giant pyramid. And the timer up in the corner at this point says, let's say 12:02 a.m. It's a long walk. The doors are obviously closed. So what you gonna do?
Sit there.
Okay, so you're just gonna sit down in front of this.
Sure.
And that's where we're gonna leave Piero for the moment. So we're gonna head over back to the Baroness. So Static Jock basically kind of came in and sort of said, sorry I was a doof, you were awesome against the Cloctopus. And at that point, assuming you didn't say anything back, he's probably going to exit the room.
Okay.
What does the rest of the Baroness's evening kind of look like? Because I'll be honest, I have no idea.
So, I feel like this is a little bit of an unusual evening for the Baroness. Like, this is not like the normal routine, since something weird happened. I feel like after puttering around the room for a little bit, clipping my tree and making sure everything's fine, I'm gonna go find Overclock.
So you would know that they brought him to the Kobe HQ. That's pretty standard
Yes.
protocol. I would say you probably know whereabouts that is.
Yes.
Are you just kind of bear on down there, or...?
Yes. I'm just gonna sort of walk in, I'm just gonna go in that direction.
Okay.
I'm just gonna walk like I know where I'm going. I'm gonna put on my most official little bear jacket, with the Kobe insignia on it and all that stuff, and I'm just gonna walk like I know where I'm going.
So the northeast corner of this pyramid is basically a containment facility, and it does go underground a bit as well, but most of it is above ground. And as you get towards the containment facility, there are guards.
Of course.
They do have weapons. They look to be kind of like stun guns, basically. Just very high-powered stun guns. And as you approach, let's say that one of them, an Officer Jackson, you at least know.
Okay.
And Jackson's like, Jackie, can I help you with something?
I'm gonna sort of try to brush it off, just on business.
What kind of business?
Very official business.
You know what? Are you trying to visit somebody, or...?
Yes, I'm looking in on one of the detainees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he grabs a clipboard. I'm just going to need you to sign in here.
Okay, I delicately take the pencil and just scribble.
And I think they know what your signature looks like at this point. So he takes that. He goes, okay. And he puts the clipboard back on his belt. Where are we going?
Overclock.
Oh, yeah. So he walks you through these facilities, and there are a lot of basically glass or high-density plastic cells. Most of them are empty. A few of them do have people in them, but it's past lights out, so the actual plastic is opaque. So you can't see into most of these. Towards the end, there is a very large kind of holding cell for recent intakes, and especially ones that they don't really know what to do with yet. And he walks you in there, and there's a really heavy door that just kind of slides shut behind that. And he goes over to a little control panel and punches in a code, and then says into a speaker, "You have a visitor." And from the other side you can hear, "It's about damn time."
Wow.
So I take it you're going to accept this? Yeah? Alright, you got 10 minutes, and he pushes a button, and the window opens. Not opens, but like...
Yeah, it clears.
Yeah, clarifies. So here's what you see. On the other side of this, in a hard plastic chair, and literally nothing else in this room, is Overclock. He has no arms and no legs. He's wearing a orange prison tunic, and rather than the arms and legs you saw him with, he has what look to be very cheap plastic prosthetics. And he kind of looks over at Johnson, and he's like, if I still had functional fingers... He looks over at you. So, you finally came here.
I did.
What do you want?
What do you want?
Oh, is this going to be one of those conversations? Come on. What, you want my whole dark backstory? We've only got 10 minutes here. And he looks over at Officer Jackson, he looks back at you, and there's something kind of pointed in that look. I wanted to have a chat with Dr. Baha, and I mostly got that done, but before I could get the information I wanted from him, you guys bursted up onto a roof and put me in a magic net.
Why Dr. Baha?
And he holds up the little cheap plastic prosthetic arm that he's got on, and he taps the chrome plate on his head. Because Bahat knows who put this in me.
You don't? Or did he tell you?
And he looks over at Officer Jackson again, he looks back at you. No, he said he was sorry, and then I think he was about to talk, and then a bear burst through the roof. Yeah, that was my sentiment exactly.
I'm pacing around very bear-like at the moment.
And he kind of stands up and walks over towards the glass and kind of like taps it a little bit. That's not gonna work. Look. Bahat has the answers I need, but he crashed his code. So, yeah.
Can I fix him?
Maybe.
Can you tell me how to fix him?
And he looks over at Officer Jackson, he looks back at you. That's proprietary tech.
Whose?
Mine.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense.
And you notice he's kind of like staring at Jackson a lot. So one thing we're going to do right now, because you were having a conversation with Overclock and you're kind of trying to get information out of him, this seems like you're trying to pierce the mask.
Yes.
So go ahead and roll that. Roll that mundane.
Yeah, I'm so good at mundane.
You are bear.
10 minus 2 is 8.
Alright, so that's partial success. So you've got the list of things that you can ask. Why don't you go ahead and...
So many good things. Ask one.
Yep.
What do you want me to do?
What he wants you to do in this particular moment is get rid of Jackson.
Okay, that's kind of what I assumed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sort of shuffle over to Jackson and ask if I could just have just like a couple minutes alone.
That's really against protocol, Jackie. I'm not supposed to leave you alone with the prisoners.
Don't tell anyone.
There are cameras in here.
Oh, God. I'm gonna whisper, I'm really sorry to Jackson and sort of clock him in the head so he kind of passes out, like, very gently.
It's a gentle concussion.
Soft concussion.
Okay. So yeah, you knock him in the head, and Overclock goes, "Whoa! That is not what I was expecting you to... Good job." I mean, I'm not a big fan of narcs myself, but alright, so we've probably got 3 minutes before the security arrives.
Yeah, so be quick.
And he closes his eyes, and you can see, when he opens them, they're flashing orange, and then they solidify into a green. You get a brief twinge in the back of your head, and the cameras explode. I'm on your Wi-Fi. Oh, that's nice. That's weird. Oh, that's weird. Okay, alright. 2.5 minutes. Ask your questions.
How can I save Bahat?
So, Bahat crashed his code. That's something he did to himself. The way my overclock works, you have to have tech in you. If I had touched your mushroom friend, nothing. That guard, nothing. You? I'm surprised you burned that out really... Like, Bahat, normally it lasts for a while, and he crashed his own code because he refused to do something that I had told him to. He's got himself in a feedback loop. And really what you need to do is cut that signal. Now, problem is, my signal pretty good. But here's what I'm willing to do for you, because you've been such a help to me. I've got a safe house. It's just across the river, down 17th Street. Big abandoned warehouse, you can't miss it. My mainframe is in there. You cut power to the mainframe, you cut the signal. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Minute and a half.
Who are you?
Overclock.
Where do you come from?
Alright, look, I've only got, 75-ish seconds left. So, here's what you need to know.
Yes.
I didn't do this to myself, but I did let it be done to myself. And frankly, the people who did it misled me quite a lot. I'm gonna pay them a visit. And you hear kind of a distant explosion through the wall. Real soon now. Also, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I just triggered Bahat's overdrive, which means his pacemaker is gonna start going crazy in about 30 minutes. There's another explosion. You probably have time to get to my safe house and cut the mainframe. In the meantime, if you want to know where I came from, you might want to try and follow me. I don't know that you have time to do both. Yeah. But I want you to meet some friends of mine. And the back wall of his cell explodes, and there are two dogs. In one's left eye, there's a 3-digit code, and in the other's right eye, there's a 3-digit code. Tick and Tuck, my Cocker Spaniels. And he grabs onto them, and they rocket jump up. And he is basically holding onto these two dogs as they bound out through the hole in the wall. What do you do? Is written for Magpie Games by Brendan Conway. It is made of magic, dreams, and a fair amount of spandex, and seriously, I love it. Please check it out. The Baroness is played by Christina. Piero is played by Lenny. You can find her on Instagram at incognitotuba. William and Furnace is played by Jordan. Darren is played by Nan. Find her on Instagram at nanjitsu. Apex City is GM'd by Jeremy, who also writes the music and edits this podcast. Our album art was provided by Ash Brandt. Find them on Twitter at cinder_Brandt, that is BRANDT, on Instagram at brandt.ash, and on Tumblr at Kimmons. Find us on Stitcher, Google Play, or your podcatcher of choice. Follow us on Twitter at Apex City Cast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.